Hey family, welcome back. If you're new here, pull up a chair. You're in the right place. I'm Terria Hendricks-Cole, proud owner of Elevation's Adult Day program here in Las Vegas. And on this channel, I'm here to share the raw, unfiltered blueprint of building a business from real experience. Before we dive in, check out my 20-week Adult Day group training. The link is in the video description below. My training is an opportunity to work directly with me and get your questions answered. Now, in today's video, we're talking about how much money is required to start an adult day program. So let's get into it. This video is going to be for you if you have been given up starting an adult day program because you think you need millions of dollars, or you're stuck on determining how much money is required to start an adult day program. And lastly, you need a step-by-step guide to determine how much money you need to start your program. So here's the first thing you need to figure out. You need 3 months of working capital. The state requires every new agency to have at least 3 months of working capital. The reason you need this 3 months of working capital is to ensure you're able to abstain the startup. So, depending on what's going on with your application, what's going on with the licensing process, what's going on in your initial startup from hiring staff to obtaining clients, you need to make sure you have enough money to sustain your bills for the first 3 months. You may use it, you may not use it, but they want to at least make sure you have 3 months of working capital. So you say, how do you determine how much this working capital it is? How do you know how much 3 months equates to? So 3 months of your monthly operating expenses is essentially your 3 months of working capital. So whatever expenses that are going to be required to obtain your business operation, you'll need 3 months of that. Okay, so here are some of the expenses that you'll incur monthly when operating an adult day program. First, insurance. So you'll need to have insurance. So there's different type of insurances as an agency that you're liable to have. First and foremost is the limited liability insurance. Because you work with vulnerable adults, you need to always make sure you have a limited liability insurance in place. If you have transportation, you'll need to make sure you have car insurance in place. And if you have employees, of which you all will have employees, you're providing a service, you'll need to have workers' comp insurance. Okay. Next, you'll need to have, if you're facility based, you'll have your monthly rent. So you'll need to make sure you're paying your monthly rental expenses, which typically depends on the size of your location, the square footage of your location. But on average, it's between 8,000 to 15,000 a month for your monthly rent expenses. Next, you'll need utilities. So you'll need to have your lights, your gas, your water, your cable, your telephone, are some of the typical insurances that you'll have. Um, Typically, it's between 200 to 500 a month for each of those categories. So, for example, 500 monthly for lights, 200 to 50 monthly for gas, and then cable, 300 for cable, will typically equate to what your utilities would look like. Office furniture. So not only will you purchase office furniture for the startup, but you'll have things that wear and tear, things that break down that you may need to get monthly. So whether it be chairs or table, microwave, are some of the, office expenses or office equipment and furniture that you may need. Vacuums are even something that, you typically may need to have some type of maintenance or obtain a new one. So always say between 1,000 to 1,500 in office furniture equipment. And these are just the repairs. This is not what you'll need to start up and furnish your building. Activity supplies. So, activity supplies are going to be a major expense. So, mind you, for your activity supplies, they'll start out a little lower, but as you grow in clientele, your activity supply expenses will grow. And that will be from if you have like computers that you utilize, pencil, paper, pens, if you have a teaching component to your program, music supplies. So if you're teaching music, group games, if you have like a game room, you'll need to make sure you have puzzles, things of that nature. So those are essentially what your supplies will equate of. And that's between 500 on the lower end to 2,000 monthly as you grow in clientele. Staffing. So your facility and your staffing expense are going to be your two largest expenses. And again, like the supplies, as you grow, your staffing expenses will grow. As you hire on, as you have more clients, your staffing expenses will grow as well. And initially, you'll start out with a payroll expense between $8,000 to $20,000 a month, depending on how many employees you have. You're looking at your director position, you're looking at your supervisory position, you're looking at your direct support staff position. So, depending on how your agency grow, your staffing expenses will grow. Next, you have cleaning and program supplies. So that's making sure you have the supplies to keep your building clean and maintain. That can be brooms, mops, dustpans, disinfectant, things of that nature. You need to make sure you have that in your facility monthly so you can maintain the health and well-being of your facility. And typically, like I said, on the lower end is 200 monthly to 1,000 monthly. Transportation. So, if you are providing transportation, and that's either taking your clients on outings or transporting them to and from the facility, you'll need to make sure you have a vehicle to do so. There's a couple of different ways you can do that, but typically, they're finance. You choose to finance your vehicle in the beginning, so you don't have to have too much upfront costs. But you have your insurances, like I mentioned earlier, for your vehicle, your gas, your maintenance, and your actual vehicle payment. And you're looking at between 5 and 2,000 a month, depending on the type of vehicle, how much transportation you're providing, are different factors in that variation in monthly pay. Next, you'll have marketing. Marketing is something that you need to make sure you stay on top of. In order to be reimbursed, you have to have clients in the door. So you want to always be marketing your services, whether it be through school, whether it be through your regional estate center. You want to make sure you have your brochures, your business cards. You'll even need a sign on your building as another marketing tool that you can have. But you're looking at between 5 to 3,000 monthly for marketing. I also want to mention for marketing, a website is another good resource to have in that monthly payment. Maintaining website, social media is typically free, so there are free sources of marketing. On another scale of marketing, you could be marketing for employees too. So if you're utilizing a service to recruit new employees, that's also a form of marketing. Okay. And then lastly, I want to talk about some consultant fees that you may or may not have. Not every new agency has these consultant fees, but accounting, if you're planning on outsourcing your accounting, you'll have an accounting fee. If you have any legal consultant, you'll have to make sure you account for any legal consultant. If you're doing like any HR payroll services, that you'll be outsourcing. I always recommend to outsource payroll services. In the beginning, it'll help with paying out taxes. Everything will be all inclusive, typically with your payroll services. Cutting checks, allowing your employees to have a time clock, a clock in and clock out resource. So those are also some consultant fees that you could potentially have. And those typically range between 5 and 2,000 a month. So As you can see, these are just a few of some of the monthly expenses that you ideally would have operating an adult day program. There are variations of, what those monthly expenses cost. So when I have new clients asking me, how much am I going to need to start my program? What's my 3 month working capital look like? I never can tell them, an exact number until we sit down and look at all those numbers together and see how big, how large their agency is going to be. Are they going to start out with just 10 clients, or are they going to start out with 50 clients? Because there's a big difference in what your monthly expenses look like depending on, how many clients you're going to be servicing and your program. So I can never, narrow it down to an exact number until we sit down and lay out all of their expenses. But essentially, you're looking at between 125,000 to 200,000 that you'll need for those 3 months of working capital. On average, just about 50,000 a month you want to equate for your expenses on a normal average cost of starting out. So that's 150,000 essentially on average. You'll need as a new provider. So that'll give you like an idea as well as the type of expenses you're going to be required operating your adult day program. So I hope that helps. If this video resonated with you, click the thumbs up button. If you're down to get some free weekly tips on how to start your adult day program, subscribe. And if you want my top 3 surefire ways of securing this working capital, comment below. I'll see you all next week. Bye.